All right, so the two biggest questions I get for out-of-state buyers. All right, so I work with sellers and I work with buyers. But let me tell you the top two things that buyers out of state ask me most of the time, even before they come in to the state. They're starting to do their discovery. They talk about insurance costs and they talk about property taxes. So I'm going to cover both of those things today, but the most thing that I'm going to be covering today is about property taxes. Florida might be getting rid of property tax. Yes, you heard it. I'm sure you've seen it on the news. It sounds amazing until you ask one simple question. If property taxes disappear, who actually pays for everything? Because, and more importantly, what does this mean for homeowners, retirees, and buyers in New Smyrna Beach and all over Volusia County, like Edgewater, like Port Orange, like Ponce Inlet, like Ormond Beach, and Daytona Beach? Today, we're separating fact from fiction in plain English. If you're new to the channel, you want to learn everything there is to know about living in New Smyrna Beach and those surrounding areas that I just mentioned, you've come to the right place. My name is Matt Ecoff. I'm a local real estate expert. I'm usually joined by my beautiful wife, Rachel Ecoff, but she's not here today. And usually we talk about the hottest spots and the best things to do around town. Listen, we get phone calls, emails, text messages, invites every day from people just like you wanting to move to the beach. So whether that be in 2 days, 20 days, or 200 days, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, we'd love to help you move to the beach. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you get all the updates and notifications about New Smyrna Beach and surrounding areas like Ormond Beach, Daytona Beach, Ponce Inlet, Port Orange, and Edgewater. All right, so let me set the context here. Recently, Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis has been talking publicly about getting rid of property taxes in Florida all the way together. And I've had a lot of people reach out and ask me about this. And I've actually had some people, a lot of conversations about this. Recently, I was with some clients in from New Jersey, great couple, Leslie and Kevin. And Leslie and I were having some pretty in-depth conversation talking about where would the money come from if it was taken away from property taxes, because obviously that's a lot. So some of the questions I've been getting is this real? Is it happening soon? Would I actually stop paying property taxes altogether? So let's break this down and again, separate fact from fiction. All right, so let's talk about first, step one, what do property taxes actually do and how much do property taxes usually cost? There's all this Google search and stuff, things like that you can do. But if you're homesteaded and you're living here full time, again, 185 days or longer in the year, then your property taxes are going to run 1 to 1.1% of the purchase price of the property. Okay, but what do the property taxes actually cover? So property taxes aren't just some random fee. Okay, they cover local things like schools, fire, police, roads, which we need a lot of work on here on the East Coast, the parks, and the city services. So when you hear get rid of property taxes, that doesn't mean the money just disappears. It has to be replaced, or some of those services like roads or schools or police or fire are going to get cut. And we don't want any of those things cut. We want the services that are provided to us here, especially in Florida with the roads and the city services. All right, so let's talk about step number 2, which is fact versus fiction. So fact, yes, the idea of eliminating property taxes has been discussed at a local, state, and national level. I've had people ask me a lot about this. And again, we don't know all of the details. So I went in to do a deep dive to try to figure out, let's separate fact from fiction. And honestly, the only real fact that I know is yes, it is being discussed right now. Fiction is no, there's no law passing the elimination of property taxes in Florida altogether. Not yet anyway. From what I understand, to fully eliminate property taxes statewide, it would almost certainly require a constitutional amendment. And in Florida, that means a 60% voter approval. Now, the 60% voter approval, it's going to get my vote. And I would assume it's going to get the majority of homeowners votes because, again, if you're talking about 1 to 1.1% of the value of your home, then, if you're paying $300,000 for a house, you're paying $3,000 a year in property insurance. If you're paying $1 million, then you're paying $10,000 and upwards. That's a lot of money. If you have a mortgage, that's a ton of money that's added into escrow every month on your payments. So I don't think the 60% voting is going to be difficult, but again, it's the constitutional amendment and all the requirements that go with that. So this isn't something that could just quietly happen overnight. Let's be clear about that. All right, so step 3, which is probably the biggest question of them all, how does Florida cover it? How do we cover the elimination of property taxes? So here's the part that a lot of the headlines skip. Florida collects tens of billions of dollars every year in property taxes. If that money goes away, that money has to come from somewhere, right? Now, one proposal that comes up a lot and I'm hearing the most about is raising the sales tax, potentially a lot. Right now we're running, I can't say for every county, but for Volusia County, we're 7.25% on sales tax, which is pretty low. Now, taxes are great here in Florida because we don't have income tax and we don't have inheritance tax. We don't have 401k tax. So that's great. But raising sales tax, potentially a lot, could play a big part on everybody's day-to-day life. That means things like groceries and dining out, Home Depot runs, just casual shopping everywhere. So while homeowners may save in one place, they could pay more in another. Now, for me, I like math and I like to do with numbers. So I think if it was me, I would probably say, okay, I'm going to round up. My house was not $1 million, but I'm going to round up that the house is worth $1 million and I'm paying about $10,000 in taxes because we have homestead. This is our full-time residence. So I'm going to save myself about $10,000 in taxes a year. Now, I'm going to probably go into my spending and see how much extra money am I going to be spending on spending if tax increases to 21% from 7.25 on all my purchases, and I'm probably going to weigh from that point. Obviously, I'm getting into a lot of detail. I'm just talking about how I would do it. But if that $10,000 was more of a savings for me than the sales tax increase that I might pay from 7.25%, that 13% increase that I'm going to pay, or 12.75% increase I'm going to pay, then I'm probably going to look at it and make my decision based on that. And the vote hasn't come up yet, but when it does, I will actually do that based on what those proposals are. So let's talk about step 4. What could this mean for us locally? This matters a lot, especially for retirees and second homeowners. All right, so why is this important locally? Because property taxes are predictable. You're going to know based on the sales price that you're about 1 to 1.1%. And with homestead, you cannot go more than 3% increase year over year. Okay, those numbers are predictable. What's not predictable is sales taxes that are tied to spending, because spending habits change and prices fluctuate. So step 4 is big, how this could affect us, locally. And you guys have probably seen it when you go to California or you go to New York or when you go to Miami down here in Florida, things can get more expensive. Now, I have people from New York and California when they're down here like, oh my gosh, things are so inexpensive comparatively. But when I have people coming in from, from Connecticut, or I have people coming in from Georgia, or I have people coming in from Texas, they're like, man, things at the beach are expensive. So this is a robbing Peter to pay Paul property taxes versus sales income tax. I would say depending on your lifestyle, one system might actually cost you more than the other. All right, now let's talk about step 5, which is super important. What buyers and sellers should actually watch out for. Now, if property taxes were reduced, they came down, or they're capped, it could increase some affordability for buyers, which could push demand higher. Okay, so now demand's high and supply is low, then prices go up. And then opposite, if supply is high and demand is low, then prices go down. So recently in 2023, 24, and even some of 2025, we've had a lot of inventory with not a lot of buyers. And because the supply is high and the demand is low, then prices started going down. Now we're in the early 2026, interest rates just dropped to 5.99% and see that going down even lower when the Fed chair changes. That means affordability goes up. It means more people are looking. And with the supply remaining the same, but now the demand going up, that means prices go up. So again, if property taxes are reduced or capped, it's going to increase that affordability for some buyers, which is going to push demand higher. However, if taxes shift elsewhere, then affordability depends on how much you spend on a month-to-month basis. And remember, real estate is hyper-local. So what happens in Miami is not the same as what happens in Volusia County. These prices are different as far as the sales prices for the homes and as far as going out to dinner and just day-to-day things. So here's the truth in one sentence. Property taxes in Florida are being discussed, not eliminated yet. And if they ever are, something is going to have to fill that void and replace them. All right, so I'm going to end this with asking a question. Love to get you guys' feedback. So what are your thoughts? Would you rather pay property taxes and keep sales taxes low, or would you rather sales taxes go up and eliminate property taxes altogether? I think this has got to be relative and it's got to be circumstantial, because if your house is, $1 million home or $1.5 million home or a $5 million home, then those property taxes are a lot. And is your spending going to make that up? If you travel out of state a lot and spend out of the state, not as much here, that's going to be a big difference. So there's a lot of factors here to consider. So let me know, drop a comment below what you think your opinion would be on that. And listen, if you're thinking about moving to New Smyrna Beach or any coastal towns in Volusia County, please reach out. I help people understand the real cost of living here, taxes, insurance, HOAs, and everything in between. Now, all right, so before I close, I want to mention one thing. At the beginning of the video, I was talking about The questions I get asked the most before you guys even come down here and visit with me is you're looking at the taxes and you're looking at property insurance, okay? Insurance has gotten lower over the last couple of years on the East Coast. That is because we haven't had hardly any bad hurricanes in several years. The West Coast, the Gulf, is taking all that. Naples, Sarasota, anything on the West Coast side have been taking it hard, and you guys know that you've seen this stuff. We haven't had it. We didn't have any direct hits this year in 2025. Well, we're in 2026 right now in January 26, but we had no direct hits this last year. We had no major storms either on this side. So Rachel and I personally shop our insurance every year, and we went from $11,100. Now that was with our property insurance and flood insurance. We're in flood zone X500, so we don't need that. It's not required in a mortgage, but we have it anyway because, rain coming in sideways or a window leaking or something like that, bringing a lot of water. Flood insurance is going to cover that. So flood insurance and property insurance, we were paying $11,100 a year. We shopped it with somebody that was referred. It's called KIN insurance, and we dropped it down over $6,000, $6,100 a year. Now we roll this into our mortgage, so $6,100 a year rolled into your mortgage is about $500 a month reduction in our mortgage payment from shopping this insurance. So insurance on the East Coast is not expensive. It is not nearly as expensive as it is on the West Coast. Now, that could change in 5 years or something. We get some major hurricanes coming in here. That could change, but right now that should not be a deterrence. In fact, shopping it is the right thing to do, and the difference is going to be mainland and beachside, and it's also going to be the age of the home, the location, the flood zone area, the roof, the HVAC, the water heater, and the electrical. And I'll tell you, when we go under contract, I will advise to get an inspection. And an inspection is not necessarily something that we're going to get to negotiate things later on. That doesn't really happen here in Florida. It does in some other places, but not so much here. We don't use that as leverage to get something else off the as-is contract, okay? But what it does is tell us what some of these things we need to look for in the future. And when you get this general home inspection, we also get what's called a 4-point inspection. This 4-point inspection looks at the age and condition of the roof, age and condition of the HVAC system, age and location and condition of the water heater, if it's in the attic or if it's in a closet or if it's in the garage, and it looks at the electrical system. And each one of those things are graded, and that is submitted to the insurance company to come up with the insurance cost on this house. So if you're in flood zone AE with a really old water heater that's in the attic and your roof is not new, yeah, your insurance is going to be expensive because there's a lot of dangerous stuff around that. An old roof, which is expensive, a water heater that's in an attic. But if we're looking right, we're being strategic, and the house has a new roof and it's in flood zone X or X500, and the HVAC system is fairly new, and the water heater's out in the garage, we're going to be in good shape. You're talking anywhere between $2,800 a year to probably $6,000 a year in insurance. So wanted to bring that up. This was about property taxes, but I said I would bring that up. So listen, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on if you'd rather pay property taxes and keep sales taxes low, or if you'd rather pay the increase in sales taxes and get rid of the property taxes altogether. I think this is relative and circumstantial based upon the person and how much the house is. You got a $5 million home and you can eliminate $50,000 a year in property taxes. That's a freaking lot of money. So on the other hand, if you think that your house is, you're not paying that much in property taxes, and you don't want that, but you like to go out and hang out and spend a lot of money, then maybe you want to go for the sales tax. But I'd love to hear that in the comment below. And also, if you have insurance questions, let me know in the comment below, because again, people ask me this all the time. It's property taxes, it's insurance, alligators, and sharks. Those are the 4 major things I get asked about more than anything else. So listen, if you're thinking about moving to New Smyrna Beach or any of the surrounding areas nearby, I cover all the coastal cities in Volusia County. Please reach out. I help people understand the real cost of living here, taxes, insurance, HOAs, and everything in between. Thanks for watching. Listen, I get phone calls, emails, text messages, Zoom invites every day from people just like you wanting to move to the beach. So whether it be in 2 days, 20 days, or 200 days, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to help you move to the beach. Please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to get all the updates and notifications about New Smyrna Beach and surrounding areas have to offer. Thanks so much for joining me today. Talk to you later.